Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be quite vlog style. I'm going to be having a chat with Jake Parker via Zoom, and we're going to draw at the same time and just chat. And I was originally going to work it into a vlog, but I think I'm just going to post it as its own standalone video. So here you go.
Hey, I'm Jake Parker. Thank you so much for having me join you today. That's great. I just want to introduce myself for people who don't know. I'm an illustrator. I brought some of my books here. I brought them. I'm in my studio, so I guess they're here. But what I do is illustrate. I do comics. I teach online classes through svslearn.com. In a past life, prior to this current life, I worked in the animation industry for several years. I worked at Blue Sky and did all the Ice Age movies and the Horton, Here's a Who, and Rio and stuff like that. And then for the last 10 years, I've been somewhat independent working in publishing. And this is like a graphic novel that I drew, Missile Mouse. This is published by Scholastic. This is one of my favorite things to do is I self-publish these art books. This is my most recent one, Drawings 5, that I kickstarted earlier in the year. I launched the Kickstarter a day before, the day of like the NBA said we're shutting down, and everyone else was like, yeah, we're shutting down too, and everybody was freaking out. And here I am like, I had a Kickstarter. Anybody
Oh
want?
no. Everyone's losing their jobs and you're like,
Yeah.
My Kickstarter.
Cities are burning down and I'm like, art? Anybody want to buy art? I also do children's books. This is the one that was on top of the pile. This is The Little Snowplow in Japanese, which is super cool. This is published by Candlewick Press. And then the book that comes out next is Inktober All Year Long.
Yeah.
This one is the one I'm super proud of. You're going to get a copy as soon as my publisher sends that out to you. But this is like my art book on how to be creative and how to do the challenge and how the challenge makes you more creative, stuff like that. And to that, I am the guy that started Inktober. So if you've heard of Inktober, that was something I created back in 2009. I was wanting to get better at ink drawing. I didn't feel confident in my inking skills, and my friends were doing like fitness challenges, and I thought, why not do an art challenge?
Yeah.
So I did this 31-day, and I'm going to do a 31-day regiment where I do an ink drawing every day. And I'm like, this could be fun. Like, I should come up with a catchy name for it. So I came up with Inktober. This was before anybody was on social media back in 2009. Like, Twitter was a kind of a thing. Facebook was kind of a thing. And so I was just posting on a blog. And so I started posting Inktober on a blog. And then year after year, it kept growing and got big on Instagram, got big on all the social media platforms. And now we're at this thing that happens every year and a bunch of people do it. So
Yeah, it's the most well-known art challenge as far as I know.
yeah, there's definitely several big ones out there, but I don't know, a lot of people do Inktober, that's for sure. At least for now, it's the most well-known.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's me. That's in a nutshell. I live in Arizona and I've got a family in the room over there. You might hear them. So that's it.
Yeah, so that's who he is, if you didn't know. So we're going to be doing a little art challenge today. We have some prompts that were set up for us, some things to pull out of a hat.
Yeah,
so,
well, technically they're going to be metal bowls.
It could be a hat.
Yeah. So what I've got here, my wife and my daughter put this together. There's 3 different bowls, and we pulled one thing from each bowl, and it's a noun, it's a verb, and it's an adjective. So we got to combine them together to make something interesting. Okay, so I'll do yours first, and then I'll do mine.
Okay.
And then we'll try it, and we'll talk.
Okay. Gotta make sure I write this down.
Yeah, get ready. Okay, so first, giraffe.
Ooh.
Second, let's see, fishing.
It could be interesting.
Yeah, this could be interesting. And what's the last one here? Angry. Angry fishing. Okay, that's yours.
Okay.
I'm gonna do mine. Let's see here. It is lizard. Okay, lizard. And oh, there you go. And what do we got here? Burglar. Okay, lizard. A burglar lizard who is doing what? Let's see here. Drunken.
Oh, wow.
A drunken burglar lizard. All right. How do you feel about that? Are you?
Oh, I'm getting some ideas already. Well, when I first heard giraffe, I giggled because I've been meaning to draw a thick giraffe because I have this thick dino character, just like a chubby T-Rex.
Yeah,
And so I was thinking he needs some chubby friends, and so I was going to do thick giraffe next. And now I'm like, oh,
that's
giraffe.
hilarious. That's hilarious. I do a thick giraffe and then do like a super skinny elephant or something, which is essentially a horse, right? Like, I guess.
Yeah. I need some giraffe reference.
Let's see, a lizard burglar. I'm going to switch to my drawing cam.
Same.
Let's see here. When's the last time I drew a lizard? So burglar, I guess the iconic thing with the burglar is they wear a mask and they wear stripes, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they carry a bag of money. I guess a burglar doesn't rob a bank; they rob houses. I guess. Well, I'll figure it out.
I'm just trying to decide if the giraffe is doing the one doing the fishing or if the giraffe is somehow the fishing rod because it has a long neck. So I feel like giraffe neck and fishing rod go hand in hand.
That seems like there's definitely something you can play with there. Like if not, it could definitely use the neck for, maybe he's holding
Fishing
the,
line or something. Or the line can be wrapped around those little horns.
right.
So he's like the rod, but the fishing line is coming off of him. I don't know how he would reel that in. Maybe that's why he's angry. He can't figure this out. Okay. I need some little thumbnails first.
Oh, you're so good. I always jump right into it. And
Well,
then
that just sounds more skillful.
I always jump right into it and then I end up not liking, like it looks like a first pass instead of something thought out. See, now I'm drawing a dinosaur, not a lizard.
I'm thinking maybe there's already a fish on the line, so that's why he's looking angry because he's almost looking determined. And
That's cool.
I don't know giraffe anatomy well enough. Like I have pictures up. I'm trying to think of how he can be bracing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think you could even anthropomorphize the giraffe, right? Like, so you just do like a gangly guy with a pot belly or something, and then give him a long neck. You remember Zootopia?
Yeah, yeah.
That had such great animal designs in it.
I might just really cartoonify it and simplify its look a little bit. God, what am I even?
I guess lizards are really, I keep drawing like a squatty lizard. I think that's my problem. They got to be like, they have like a long body, short legs. Lizard, burglar. And your giraffe's angry and my lizard's drunk. Yeah, so I think what I'm doing right now is just figuring out like what's the character design on mine, and then I'm gonna put them in a situation.
I'm trying to rough out a bit of the composition. Maybe drew it a little too far to the side, but I don't know if I've ever drawn a giraffe other than maybe as a kid.
See, this is good. You're already
Yeah.
pushed in a direction you wouldn't normally go. I tell you right now, if not for this, I wouldn't be drawing a lizard burglar today. That's for sure. So how long's your YouTube channel been going?
I mean, I started a different art channel called Zed Kitty Zed way back. Well, I mean, it's been around for a long time, but I started regularly posting to it early 2010.
Uh-huh.
Because I had a couple videos before that where it's just slideshows of my art, which was mostly just stuff copied from other pictures on the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2010 is when I started posting speaking videos, and that's around the time I had gotten my first set of Copic markers, and so I was really inspired to post videos, and it just snowballed from there. And I can't remember exactly what year I made my current channel, maybe 2011, 2012, or 2012, I think.
I feel like it's been around for a while. I remember seeing it years ago. And what was it like? Here you are, you're just hanging out at home. What made you think I should post on YouTube? Because I remember back then YouTube, I guess 2010 YouTube was 5 years old.
Yeah, and because I had posted some weird stuff before that too. Like I had this video series about my dogs called A Tale of Two Tails. I only got to 5 videos and then that was done. But I don't know what, I guess I always liked filming things. Even before vlogging was a thing, I was filming stuff almost like a vlogger, except maybe less talking to the camera.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought my dogs are really cute. So I thought edit some videos together for that. But then I didn't really post much for a while. And for the art, I had moved to a new province, so I'm far away from all my friends, and I kind of dived even more into drawing around that time because I didn't have any close friends there. Plus, I just kind of wanted to share my art with people, so I started posting it to YouTube. So it was kind of like through my lack of social life at the time, went from having a social life to having none, so needed something to do.
That makes sense. Because if you're in a new town and you don't have like a network or were you married then too, or was this?
No, not back then. I just got married a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah, so it makes sense. Like that. Where else would you go to find people or share things than online?
Plus, I remember.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I wasn't the kind of person to just run up to someone in person, like people, classmates or anyone, and be like, hey, look what I drew, especially when I wasn't that close to them. So on the internet, it's a little more anonymous.
Yeah.
A little safer feeling.
What
were you saying?
Oh, what was I saying? It was something like, I was going to say something like YouTube. I remember thinking YouTube, there was YouTube and Vimeo, which were kind of launched around the same time, it felt like. And I was thinking like, okay, one of these platforms is going to be the platform.
Yeah.
And so I picked Vimeo and I started making videos on Vimeo. And then I was like, well, this is going nowhere. And then I got busy with like kids and stuff. And in 2010, we moved to Utah from Connecticut. I was working at Blue Sky in Connecticut. And so it was the same kind of thing. Life was just really upside down and trying to figure out the lay of the land. And I was teaching at a university, teaching art and stuff. And so it was like making videos was sort of last thing on my mind. But I remember I started posting videos, I want to say like 2015, sort of the same thing. Like I'm going to draw and I'm going to talk about issues, thoughts, whatever, dealing with art related subject matter. And the thing I love about YouTube, and you probably back me up on this, is of all the social media channels or social media avenues, like it feels like a community instead of
Hmm.
people like yelling at each other. I mean, you
Yeah.
get some of that, but for the most part, people just feel like they're super supportive. I guess in art YouTube, in art YouTube world, I see a lot of support and a lot of good things happening.
Oh yeah, especially looking at some other communities, I'm just like, oh, thank God we don't have that kind of behavior. I mean, there's a little bit, but for the
Yeah,
most part, it's pretty wholesome.
yeah. So you were doing, did you do art school?
Kind of. Well, I went to school for animation,
Oh, okay, cool.
and well, before that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do coming out of high school. I was actually at this crossroads where I wanted to do something science related, maybe because I was really into science, especially biology. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I can be a veterinarian. I was either
Hmm.
going to do that or just go for a fine arts degree. And I was very torn and I wasn't very confident in my art. And also just felt like, well, I don't know what I could do with an art degree. So I went the vet route and I did that for 3 years before I was like, I made the wrong choice. And I went to school for animation instead. I moved out to Vancouver, which is really far from where I'm from, and that's how that happened.
What was the kind of animation stuff you're doing? Was it more two dimensional, like drawing animation or
It was
computer?
almost exclusively 3D.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So then I did work after school. I worked in a studio for about a year and a half before I stopped just to do all this stuff, all the online
Mhm.
stuff. I have no idea how I'm drawing this giraffe mouth. Just keep redrawing it. Don't know if I want his teeth visible or not.
So are you one of those people that's super content with where you're at, or do you always think like what could have been? Like, do you ever think about what would happen if you went that animation route and worked at a studio and like had spent 10 years at Disney or something like that?
I think I like the I I've actually was thinking about this recently because I've been watching this behind the scenes featurette for Frozen 2, and
Uh-huh.
it's a 6 episode thing on Disney Plus, and just seeing all the animation stuff, I was kind of like, oh, like this is just bringing me back so much. And so there's part of me that feels a bit of FOMO, like I'm missing out on something, but then I'm also like, no, I just like the idea of that. I don't think I would go back to it if I
Yeah.
ever needed to, but I'm just really happy with where I am now doing my own thing.
Yeah. I think it's the idea of it because I do that same thing too. I mean, I worked at an animation studio, and the whole time I was there, there's like this mix of people, and I don't know if that's currently how it is because again, I'm 10 years removed from it, but there's people who they are there and they're going to die there and they love it and they bleed for animation and uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the best thing ever, right? And then there's other people that as much as they can, they're working on their own stuff and they're trying to do like shows outside of the studio or they're like publishing their own comic or they're maybe doing YouTube videos or something like that. And I was one of those people that was like I liked the idea of being at an animation studio, but there were just days where I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. Like,
Yeah.
I do not want to go to another meeting. And maybe that'll change in my future. Maybe I'll want to do that again. But there was just, I just wanted to kind of be off doing my thing, my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, uh, and so it's funny because you have, I think for every, um, I think you have YouTubers or independent artists who are like, what's it like inside a studio? And then you have people inside studios that are like, what's it like outside of a studio?
Yeah.
I feel like everybody needs a Freaky Friday situation.
Yeah.
Just
See what the other side is like.
right.
Did you ever think like when you first started all the studio stuff, did you think you would be doing what you're doing now someday, or just like never? Like you always thought you'd work for someone else's company?
Um, when I first started, so my first job was for Fox Animation, which I worked for Don Bluth, and he had started an animation studio in Phoenix, Arizona, and I grew up in Mesa, which was like a suburb of Phoenix, and it was like Mesa was voted at one point in time like the most boring city in the country in the United States, right? And I could back that up. Like, yeah, I could see how that was. And me and my friends, you know, we did a lot of creative stuff and we made our own fun. But um, to have an animation studio like move into town was the craziest thing. I thought I'd won the lottery, and so I did what I could to get in there. I pulled strings. I found out my art teacher had a student that graduated ahead of me who worked there, and I got connected to him, and he showed me how to do like the job, and I
Yeah.
submitted my portfolio, and they hired me on this like entry level position, and I was 21 years old, and I thought on that day I'm like, this is it. I'm set. I'm working in animation. This is what I'm going to do for my life.
Yeah.
And then I started doing animation work, and I was like, wait, this is so tedious and boring and and hard. And the kid, you know, I was a young kid, right? I was somewhat naive, but I thought, no, maybe the job for me is working in the, because I was in the in between department, which was
Oh, okay.
all the drawings that you had to do that nobody else wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe what I want to do is be a concept artist, so work in the art department. And so that's what I started shifting towards. My portfolio and everything was doing concept art, and I started going down that path and worked for a video. I left Fox because they ended up shutting down the studio because you can't keep a studio open if your films don't make any money, right? That's like the economics. And
Yeah.
Titan 8E came out and made $7 million opening weekend on a $70 million budget. And so they were like, we can't afford to keep this studio open anymore. So they laid us all off, and I went and got another job at a video game studio that was in town doing there's actually other jobs in between that, but just to fast forward, I ended up working for this company doing video game stuff, and I was doing concept art, and that was really cool, and it was definitely more engaging and more up my alley. Then I met these people who were making comics, and I had always loved comics, and um, they were putting together an anthology. It was called Flight. I don't know if you ever saw that comic anthology,
It
but
sounds familiar to me.
yeah. So it was the main guy putting it together was Kazu Kibuishi, and he's done this epic graphic novel series called Amulet, which is published by Scholastic, and I was like, well, I want to try drawing comics. I've always loved them. I did like the kid version of comics in high school. You know, I did my best version of a comic in high school, and I'm like, I want to do it for real now. I want to try this out. So I started drawing comics, and that's when things started to shift for me. And I realized, okay, a studio can shut down and lay you off, and they have like no allegiance to you. But the more you can do as an artist to build a fan base for the work that you're doing, the better, the more like stable your career is going to be. And so I made this plan, like, you know, I think it was by 2010 or by 2012 or something like that, to be able to leave this animation system, the studio system, and have a more independent career. That was at least subsidized by fan base, and then I could do freelance work and stuff like that. And so I ended up leaving Blue Sky when there was like enough inertia there for me to quit that and kind of work on some of my own stuff while I worked for a university and while I took on some freelance stuff. And just over the years, I kept dipping my toe into more things and starting things that made money to where I could essentially be where I'm at now, where it's primarily I don't work on any project that doesn't somewhat involve. So let me say it this way. I made a decision. I didn't want to do any sort of project where I couldn't be credited with my name on the cover of it or in the mention of it or when it's shared. So that meant I stopped working on like commercials and other projects where, you know, your name maybe shows up in the credits if there are credits. And I wanted to only do things where my name was on the cover, because that would build a fan base more. And when I wanted to launch a Kickstarter or sell a book or do anything, my name was connected with other things that people were familiar with, right? So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at now, and that's always been my like my goal as an artist.
See,
that's a long answer to
yeah.
question.
I definitely never thought I'd be here. I didn't mind like the animation work itself. For me, I just kind of got sick of being forced to do the same thing day in and day out, like all day, every day. There's kind of no control, and it's not as exciting when it's not your own projects. And like what I'm doing now, a lot of how successful I am is about how hard I push things. Like there's still that luck factor, but it's also like, hey, if I work harder, then I can do more stuff. Whereas before you're stuck under this ceiling, I guess.
Yeah.
At a studio.
Yeah. Like you really want to be involved in stuff where you can make some money without you directly having to be working on it. So I like that you sell merchandise, right? So you can be on vacation and still pay rent or pay a mortgage because your merchandise is working for you.
Yeah.
While you're doing that. I think that's so smart too.
And it's weird because I used to think, oh, this is going to be so unstable. You know, it's a big risk taking the self-employment route. But then you look around and the art industry especially just is unreliable to begin with. Even working for studios, a lot of people are even jumping from studio to studio just to get the next job. And I don't know, I guess it's not as scary as it sounds in terms of freelancing or just being self-employed. I don't really consider myself a freelancer since I don't take any client work, but
yeah. I like the thing that really clicked for me. This was like back in 2009. It was the 1,000 fans, like the law of 1,000 fans or whatever it's called. The rule of 1,000 fans. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
The 1,000 true fans, I guess is what it is. And that just made so much sense to me. And for people who don't know what that is, it's that, and I feel bad because someone came up with this. They have a name and they should be credited. But I don't know. I can't remember what it is. But essentially the idea is, you could probably look it up, Google it or something. But the idea is that if you have 1,000 true fans, that number of fans is what you need to support a career. And the idea is that if you're able to produce $100 worth of merchandise or tickets to something or an album or books or something like that, $100 worth, and you have 1,000 true fans that are going to buy it no matter what, no questions asked, they're just a fan of you and whatever you put out, then you can make $100,000 a year. And that's a good standard of living in most parts of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I looked at that and I'm like, okay, I might not be able to produce $100 worth of stuff every year, but maybe I could do $25 worth of stuff, and maybe I could try to get 5,000 pretty good fans. And like I was doing this kind of math, like, and so that's sort of been my goal was how do I get these 1,000 absolutely true fans
Yeah.
that just support and I don't think you couldn't do it this easily 15 years ago or 20 years ago. There's just so many tools available, like with Patreon too. Now, um, being able to be accessible on the social medias and all that, it's like a golden age for creators.
I kind of lucked out because I had a decent size viewer base before I was ever even thinking of turning this into a living, because I was still pursuing the animation thing, and even before that, the vet thing. And so
Mhm.
trying to like find an audience to monetize was not even on my brain because,
Mhm.
it was just kind of a purely for fun thing. I'm lucky that I got started in it early enough,
Yeah,
which is funny because even years ago, I always think like, oh, I wish I started YouTube sooner. I wish I did this and this sooner. But then I look back and I'm like, really, I got started pretty quickly compared to people who are starting now.
yeah, yeah. But I also feel like too, it's never too late.
Oh yeah, I believe that too.
Like sometimes, you roll up to maybe you're 20 something and you're thinking, okay, I should start a YouTube channel. And then you go on there and you see like there's all these creators that have 1 million subscribers and, you know, 500,000 subscribers or 500,000 Instagram followers. And you think, well, how can I even compete? But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter because you're going to be able to offer something that they can't offer. And just you being yourself and trying to be true to yourself is going to add value and add something to this like overall conversation happening in the art community. And I'm such a firm believer that kind of like there's enough wall space and enough bookshelves in the world for everybody to sell
Mm-hmm.
a print, sell a book. There's not that much limited space, right? That you can't find that fan base.
And see, I kind of got lucky. I started earlier because in terms of YouTube exposure, there weren't many artists on YouTube back then. But
Mm-hmm.
now the community is so huge that it maybe is harder to get those initial eyes on you. But once you have it, it's so easy to skyrocket because there's so many people in the fan base now.
Yeah.
Like back in
So,
the day, if you were an artist on YouTube with 10,000 subscribers, you were one of the big art YouTubers. And
mm-hmm.
it's different now in terms of numbers, but there's just so many more eyes on the art community now compared to before.
Yeah. So what if someone was starting like today, they listen to this and they're like, yeah, maybe it's time. I got to start my YouTube channel. What would your number one advice be to that person?
I actually get asked that a lot, and you slightly touched on it just a minute ago, where you said you have your own thing to bring to the community and your personality. That's the biggest thing I say is your personality, because obviously your art style might set you apart from someone else, or maybe the
Mhm.
way you film your videos, but your personality is the most important thing, because no matter, like, there are people out there who will, they'll come for the art, but they'll stay for the personality. And it gets to a point where they really don't care what you're uploading. Like, they're gonna be a fan of whatever you're doing
Yeah.
because they're a fan of you, as long as you don't manipulate that. But like,
Right, right.
don't manipulate people. But it's sort of, I'm the same way with some people I watch. I will watch anything they post because I just want to hear their voice, experience their personality.
Uh-huh.
And if they're also doing something I like, then that's a bonus.
That's funny. I'm the same way. Like I have this I follow this YouTuber. Actually, I want to hear who your favorite ones are, but I follow this guy who does film commentary, His name's Patrick Willems. And I quit really. I mean, I love his commentary. I want to hear his take on every film, but I stay, and I'm a huge fan of his because he tells like he's telling a story with each of his commentaries on film. So it's like there's this intro story that's happening, and then there's this outro story that's happening, and in the middle is the film commentary. And now I'm so vested in finding out what happens in the story that he's telling from video to video that like I'll even watch a video about something I'm not even interested because I want to see where he's going to go in this like side story that he's doing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. So who are your go-to favorite YouTubers?
I especially like my favorite's vlog style content, especially if it's someone who's does something creative, like an artist who has a vlog channel.
Mm-hmm.
So one I really like is Joy San because she's a fellow Canadian and she just kind of films her life. It's a mix of personal stuff and her work because she does conventions, she does her comics, she runs a Patreon where she's always doing creative stuff for that. So I just kind of like seeing the productivity behind it.
Yeah.
And then other ones are kind of random. Like there's this other vlogger I watch, although she hasn't really posted vlogs much lately. It's Kiki Meets World is her vlog channel. And it's funny because her main channel's started off as this makeup channel, and I never would have watched content like that. But then I got hooked on her vlogs, and I've watched her Vlogmas videos for the last few years at least 4 times each just through the playlists because I want to hear her talk, and
I think
she's hilarious too. She's hilarious.
I think I just discovered her. Like, did she didn't she just do a video about like her apartment, like how her apartment's set up? I might be thinking of something else. Or
I mean,
might be
she has done stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because her main channel's Kiki Chanel.
Okay.
And then Kiki Meets World is her vlog. So she used to do the vlogs on her main channel, then moved them to a separate channel. But
Okay.
I'll watch anything she posts now. Like, because like I don't really watch YouTubers who do like clothing hauls or something. But since that's one of the types of videos she posts, I watch them because I'm like, oh, I like her. I don't know.
That's cool. So do you also like, are you taking inspiration from these as well? Like how you should do your channel, or is it more you're just watching completely as a fan?
It's mostly as a fan, not really to learn anything. Although I will admit, Joy's vlogs, the first person I talked about, it kind of helped push me towards moving my vlogs to my main channel and combining them because I had kind of been considering that, and I'm like, well, she does it and I love those videos, so you know what, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, that's cool. And then have your fans been into that as well? Are they enjoying that stuff too, like that shift?
I think so because I've been getting a lot of good feedback on it. There are people who did say, you know, I was here just for the art, so I'm going to unsubscribe, and that's totally fair because I actually expected mass unsubscribing.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of it, but right now my sub count is at an all-time high because it's been really stagnant for a long time. Like the sub count's been sitting pretty much still for 2 years. And so I was like, what's the harm? Like, what am I risking by doing what I truly want?
It's not like, well, and that's the thing too, is I sort of do that thing too with my, like, I have an email list. Do you maintain an email list as well?
No, I don't.
So I have an email list, and that's been something I've been doing for several years. And I just put out a weekly, touch base with people. Here's what I'm interested in. Here's what I've been working on. And email software, by the way, great job on your drawing.
Thanks.
I love how you turned it.
I love yours too.
So mad. But you can't use email software for free. You have to pay. So usually they're free up to like 2,000 subscribers, and then after that it's 30 a month, and then you get up to 10,000 subscribers and it's like $100 a month, and so the more subscribers you get, the more you have to pay because they understand like you're probably going to be using it to drive sales to a shop or to sell a book or something like that. So it's a business expense. And the thing that I love is posting stuff that's really on brand for me, and seeing 20 unsubscribers from an email that I sent out, because then I'm like, okay, this email list is more pure now. Like the people that are here are really into this thing I posted today. So so the more unsubscribers I get, and the more like weeds it out, there's like it's like the pure that followership is. And it's been cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have this complex of feeling like I've betrayed people, especially if they've been a long time viewer, and then I make a change and I just feel like I've betrayed them or something, you know?
Yeah, but I think like you said, like if they're not willing to follow you where your interests lie, like you probably the most dangerous thing for you to do is to pander to
Yeah.
an audience that doesn't like you,
Yeah.
you know? That seems backwards. Like it should be they're willing to follow you where you're wanting to go and where you need to go creatively.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what color is alcohol? I don't drink, so
Oh, maybe like brown. It could be brown for like rum or something to make
yeah,
it interesting.
yeah. My parents didn't drink, and so I just was never around. Like, and their friends didn't drink. It just wasn't a part of like my culture growing up, and so I'm always I'm always caught off guard when I have to like. I wonder why my wife put it in there. A drunken, a drunken lizard.
Where did my sheet go? I swear I tucked it in the first page of my book. Oh, it's on the floor. Okay. This is going to bleed through this paper. This is not.
Mm. Have you tried these things? The Viva color sheets.
No, I haven't.
So these things are super cool. It's color. It's like raw pigment
Yeah.
on a sheet, and you just use a brush pen, and that's how you color things. Super, super handy. The thing I like about it is, especially when I'm traveling, I can do like all of these colors in something flat and skinny like this.
Yeah, that's super travel friendly. It's tiny. I think I had something like that once and I never used it.
Oh. Well, I feel like too we're in this golden age of art supplies as well. Like when you were a kid and I remember wanting colored pencils, like the Prismacolor pencils,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to go to an art supply store to get them, and then the art supply store may not have carry them, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
you had to drive around and find them, and now you've got markers, you've got like these little mini watercolor pads and all kinds of stuff. I just there's no excuse, right? These days.
And the companies keep coming out with affordable options too for everything. So
Right.
there's something for every budget.
That's true. Yeah, because there'll be like the high end marker that's pretty darn good, but then they'll do like the student version, which
Mm-hmm.
still is fine. Like, it may wear out a little bit faster, but for a budget, it's good.
Trying to figure out how fancy I want to get with this coloring.
Yeah, I'm wondering how you're gonna do his spots.
I'll probably just go in with a dark brown. That's what I'm trying to shade in the base color first so I can have some shading. Otherwise, it's just going to smudge the dark marker if I try to do it later.
Oh yeah. When did you start using Copics?
2010, because that's around when I started posting the consistent YouTube videos.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I don't know. They've always been a favorite of mine, even though I've delved into other stuff too. I just come back to my markers all the time.
Uh-huh. And do you, like when you need refills or something, do you just order online or?
Yeah, I almost exclusively order online just because the shops around here are kind of expensive, or maybe they just don't have all the colors
Oh, yeah.
available. So,
Yeah. So what do you like? What do you see yourself in? Let's see, we're in 2020. You started your YouTube in 2010, kind of.
mhm.
What do you see yourself in 2030? What do you see things being like? Or do you even think that far ahead?
I don't really think that far ahead because my interests always shift. Because when I'm in a happy place, I just think like, oh, I want to do this, just exactly what I'm doing now for the rest of my life. But then as time passes, I'm like, I kind of want to shift things a little bit, and I still just want to be making art and being creative, and I'll kind of just go where I need to go. Like, let's say YouTube dies off, I'll find somewhere else to go. And I would ideally like to still be self-employed. That's the
Right.
goal, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you?
Uh, Man, turn it on me. I think it's this sort of the same thing. Here's the thing I always struggle with. Am I always go in and I make a few YouTube videos and I enjoy it and I'm having fun with it. And then, but what I see suffering is like I spend all this time making a video and I haven't worked on this comic story that I want to work on. And so I always go back and forth. Like, do I want to be a YouTuber who draws, or do I want to be a drawer or an artist who makes YouTube videos? Both are completely legitimate like paths, and I
Yeah.
always go back and forth. I'm like, how cool would it be to have such a strong social media presence, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, that all I need to do is draw whatever I want, publish an art book every year, and that covers like mortgage payment and groceries, right?
Yeah.
You know, that like who would complain at that? And
Hmm.
then the other side of me is like, I just want to buckle down, not have to worry about social media, not have to worry about posting videos, and make like the best graphic novel I can make. And
Yeah.
uh, and and so I oscillate between those two, right? Like what's the path? What should it be? And I think today, this week, if you were to ask me, I want to be a YouTuber. But next week it might be, heck no, I just want to have a cabin in the woods where I'm drawing comics all the time.
Yeah.
I don't even need a phone. Like I just get a flip phone to like for emergencies.
The sad thing is like then you can't really live off of it because the sad part is there needs to be money coming in somewhere.
Right,
So
right,
you don't want to like sound money hungry by thinking about the money, but that's the reality of the world. You need to pay your bills and whatever. So you do need to find a way to monetize it. And so it's like, okay, well, I can't just go off in a cabin in the woods because
right, right.
I need to like maintain that audience and stuff. I felt like I had something else to say based on a previous sentence, but now I forget.
Something I said or something.
Yeah, just to build off something, but
Oh, yeah. I'm curious if that comes back.
oh yeah, just how I felt like I was getting too stuck in, okay, what's my next video going to be? Or like, how can I create something catchy? Like, or what's a catchy video idea? And then I was like, well, I feel like I'm just making videos because it'll be something that's popular on YouTube. Like, I kind of wanted to get a little more project focused in a way with my art, or just more relaxed, even just, what I'm just going to draw. And it's not something that's a catchy video idea, but I'll combine it with my vlogs and hopefully that's interesting to people because I just want to draw. I don't want to. I'm kind of tired of turning it into catchy videos.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I I think that's the trap too. It's like um, when I was like I did a video once a week almost for a year there. When I really kicked it into gear and started doing YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
and it got to that. It's like, well, I got to come up with an idea. I got to, and I feel like that's like the tail wagging the dog. Like one of the love him or hate him, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Like he, are you familiar with him?
Yeah, yeah, I am.
Yeah. He says one of his things was document, don't create. Like don't create stuff for your social media. Don't create stuff for YouTube. Do what you're going to do and document the process and invite people along on that journey. And you're going to make way better videos. You're going to make way better, and this is the worst word, but content, right?
That perfectly summarizes how I feel about it. God.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I reminded myself of that. I remind myself like, okay, you don't make a thing just for the sake of making it. You make what you want to work on and turn that into something you can share with people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think ultimately too, like I think with you and with some of the better YouTube channels, that's what they're doing is they're coming from a place of instead of wanting to post for the sake of posting, they're coming from a place of this should help. This is something I really think can add to the conversation and help artists right now, or at least um, at least fill in, like build out my personality as an artist and share more about who I am than just something clickbaity, right?
Yeah.
And actually to that too, like do you find I find like the hardest part of a YouTube video is the title.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I agree because it's like, how do you make it catchy without it just sounding clickbaity?
right. It's like,
Or just make it not sound completely boring
right.
if it's a vlog or something.
And so it might not be a clickbaity video, but your title, or, it might not be anything catchy, but your title's like, I can't believe I did this. And people, what did she do?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do?
I've just noticed little things like with the thumbnail.
Mhm.
Like if I put my face in it, it gets a lot more views. It tends to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll have like a beautiful thumbnail, but my face isn't in it, and it'll perform more poorly. And I'm like, huh. I wonder, like, was it because of the title, or was it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like a formula I've developed. I try to put my face in the thumbnail every time now.
It's weird because it does make it a little more personable. Like it's you engaging immediately. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
because like people are just drawn to faces. Like
Mm-hmm.
how do you see two eyes, a mouth, and you're triggered. Like, oh, what is that? Do I need to acknowledge this or not?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
I keep glancing over at yours, like, am I going too slow? I spent
No,
too much time on this.
this is looking good. I'm just embellishing some of these things around here. I'm realizing he's a burglar, but I didn't really show what he's stealing. He just has a bag. So I'm gonna
Maybe he
add,
stole the booze.
yeah, maybe, that's right. I'm gonna add some like jewelry hanging off of his arms.
I feel like I'm losing my shading. It looks almost non-existent. So now I want to darken everything, but I've already added the spots, so this is gonna get dangerous.
I was I was wondering. It looks good though. That like you squint your eyes a little bit and it's like almost looks like a CG render
Oh,
with the lighting you're doing there. That's
well.
good.
Yeah, the light part of him needs more shading now. Oops.
So does your husband, is he creative at all too? Or is this like a
No,
opposite attract?
kind of like opposites. He just kind of like, well, he works for a telecommunications company, and then in his spare time, he plays like video games and stuff. And I mean, I play games too. I even have it as part of like what I do online because I've got my Twitch channel.
Hmm.
But in terms of like the creative stuff, he doesn't do any of that stuff.
What I do, that's so funny because my wife's the same way. She's completely like organized, um, super organized, super practical, like head on straight person, and I'm this like artist dude who's wants to play with Legos, and I'm barely an adult, and I think there was a part of me that realized like, okay, if you don't marry somebody who has their act together, it's gonna be bad for your life. Like, there needs to be um, a grown up in the room. But what's been great for us is I think I've had an effect on her, and she's definitely had an effect on me. Like, I'm much more organized. I'm much more thoughtful about what I'm doing and how I'm doing things and methodical, from watching her. But then, she's so playful and fun. And she said this too. She's like, yeah, you've helped me
Aw.
understand that, or remind me that's important. Hopefully. Um, as far as video games, I've always had this anxiety that comes with them, where we didn't have a Nintendo or anything growing up, so I was
Oh
always at
yeah.
my friend's house playing it. Um, and then one day, my mom, she got us Atari Lynx. I don't know if you ever saw those or heard of those, but it was like Game Boy. Nintendo came out with the Game Boy, and Atari came out with the Lynx, which was a full color like handheld device.
Okay.
And I was like, what you got us a video game? What? And she's like, yeah, you just seemed like you had all this energy, and I was worried you're gonna do something to hurt yourself. Because so I figured maybe you could get some of it out playing, some aggression or whatever out playing video games. And so I got into it a little bit, but I always had this anxiety like I should be doing something like I should be doing something else. Like, I
Yeah.
could have drawn a comic, or I could have drawn, it's usually creative related. Like, I could have spent this energy creating something. And I'm wondering, because I know so many creators and artists who are way into video games. Don't get me wrong, I love the art form of it. I love the visuals, but
Mm-hmm.
how does that work for you? Is it completely just like, this is an outlet and this is my off time, or is it something different?
I mean, it's tough because I've always guilted myself over it. I'm the kind of person who did grow up playing games. We always
Mhm.
had like Super Nintendo, then N64, GameCube. We always had all the Nintendo consoles, and so that's always been a part of my life. But I kind of pulled away from it as I got busy with things like college and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I started bringing it more back into my life. But there is that guilt, like maybe I should be working on a video or something, or think of the art I could have gotten done. But ultimately I've learned to just accept it because it is another thing I really enjoy doing, and I don't want to get sick of the creative stuff I do.
Yeah.
I need something else so that I
Yeah.
don't get burnt out. And I've also worked it into my schedule. Like, I've scheduled days on Twitch where I will play games, and so I mean, part of me does feel guilty scheduling the time for it, but I'm also like, no, this is time that was specifically set aside for it, so
Hmm.
I'm allowed to do it and try to not feel guilty over it.
That's good. I love it. That's what I I think because I don't have any of that with watching movies, and I watch movies a lot.
Mm,
I could sit down for 2 hours and feel really good about it, you know.
interesting.
But for some reason, playing a video game, I'm like, I think it's too because I'm not good at it, so I really do feel like I'm wasting time.
Mm.
Like I'm not getting better, and I'm not accomplishing anything. This turned into a therapy session. Let me talk about my mom for a minute now.
Uh, so do you have any, so you mentioned the movies thing, but is there anything else you do in your spare time other than art stuff?
So I got kids. So we do. I do a lot of stuff with the kids. Um, we ride bikes. I love running too. So I run 5 days out of a week, and so I usually get up early and do that. And that's sort of like my way to set the day, like reset and like clear my head and prepare myself uh, for the day. So I do a little bit of I do that. Before we moved to Arizona, I raised chickens,
Okay.
and that was a lot of fun. I'd like to get back into doing that, but we we live in a HOA now that doesn't allow chickens.
Mm.
They say chickens, but they didn't say chicken, so maybe I could have one. I don't know. Um, and then what else? What else? I was thinking about this. Like, I don't want to be such a one-dimensional person that all I can do is talk about art and do art. And so that's why I was like, I need I need something that isn't art related. And so just as coronavirus was like hitting and sports teams were shutting down, was right when I was like, I want to become a baseball fan. I want to get into baseball. Um, I've always had this like I liking the idea of baseball. Like I love a
Hmm.
baseball film, you know. I love the story behind baseball. I like the iconography of baseball, you know, diamonds and bats and uh, baseball caps and you know dirty dirty pants from sliding and just gritty dudes and I love all that, right?
Yeah.
But baseball always seems like super impenetrable because um, there's 100 or 200 years of history there, and and how do you pick a team to be a fan of, and how do you know what what is going on as far as like the story of the players, like who's been
Mm.
where and who's done what, and and so Ken Burns did a documentary on baseball that is like 24 hours long, and I watched the whole thing while drawing. Like I had it playing while I'd been drawing on a project,
Uh-huh.
and it's just the history of baseball. And I got through it all, and I was like, I get it. I understand. Like I understand it now. I understand why this team is important, and I understand why this team, you know, it's important that they win because they hadn't won for 100 years, and now I'm like I'm chomping at the bit to get into baseball, and this is like the first season that they're not having a full season, and you can't go to a baseball game, and it's like so frustrating because like here I am ready to like
Yeah.
diversify my life a little bit, and I'm I'm stuck. Stupid coronavirus making it not possible, and I know that's like the biggest first world problem to have, but that's where I'm at.
Hmm.
I did play a little bit of softball growing up too, and of course, like I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the States, every kid at some point has some touch point with baseball. Like you, like I don't know anybody who doesn't know the rules. Like you couldn't like they may not know how to play very well, but they know you hit the ball, you run the bases, you get out, from 3 strikes. So it really is like the pastime, the national pastime in that regard, and that everybody knows something about it. But it is often impenetrable because there's so much history there.
I'm not huge into too many sports, but I do like to watch Canadian football. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm not one of those people who knows all the history though and knows all the info. It's kind of like I just love, like I know all the rules of the game, but I don't know all the history of the game. So
Yeah. Yeah. Canadian football, that's what we call soccer, right?
no,
Or is it?
it's still like American football. It's just that we
Oh,
have our own league, the
oh,
CFL. Yeah, and a lot of the players are from the US too.
okay.
It's kind of like, oh, you didn't make it into the NFL. Well, maybe you'll make it into the CFL.
Well, it's funny too because Canada has their own baseball team, like a
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote American baseball team. I mean, it plays against all of them. I often forget too. You see on a map, Canada is like this massive country, but
Mm-hmm.
the population's like 35 million people,
Yeah.
which there's more Californians than there are Canadians,
Jeez.
right?
Yeah.
So I wonder, it's just, I don't know. I love our neighbors up north. I do, but I feel bad that as Americans, we like you can ask your average American where a city is in Canada, and they have no idea. They won't know if it's on the
Yeah.
East Coast or the West Coast.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know a whole lot about the US. I feel like I know the main things, like I know where New York is, I know where like Los Angeles is. I know where Texas is. Could I pinpoint where the cities within that are? No, but
And then there's like a bunch of square states in the middle somehow.
yeah.
It's funny too because um, you go to the East Coast of the United States and you ask someone there, like, point on this map where Utah is, and they won't be able to know Nevada from Utah. And then you do the same thing to someone in Utah, like point on the map where Massachusetts is, which is over by it's where Boston, over by New York, and they won't be able to do the same thing. So even in the in our own country, people aren't like paying attention to geography.
Also, a lot more to memorize compared to Canada.
That's true. That's a good point.
And we don't have as many big cities either. Like our provinces are huge, but there might be like a handful of big cities in each one.
Yeah, I've been to Ottawa.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. I went to an animation festival up there.
Oh, haven't even been to Ottawa.
It's pretty. It was really. I saw the Parliament building, and just kind of toured around there in between animation sessions, which was nice. I'm trying to figure out what else to add to this drawing here. It's like
I mean, it looks pretty good as is.
kind of, yeah. I don't want to like add too much. I wish I didn't go so dark in the mouth with that red, but
Oh, I think that looks good like that.
you do.
Yeah, especially from afar. Like I'm seeing it small. It gives it a lot of depth.
Okay, cool. Wish I could add a little label to the rum.
Mine's like mostly done. Just throw in some grass. Although I kind of feel like the water looks bad, but I'm trying to keep this really cartoony and like I'm trying to make the coloring style match the drawing a little bit.
It looks good.
I don't know where to end this grass.
Just make it like a hill, like a little
Yeah, give it a
hill.
little. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
and there won't be any sky or anything. It kind of just
Right.
ends.
So your online shop, had you done? I know you were recently doing shipping and stuff. Had you done big pushes like that before?
Yeah, I've been doing them for about a couple years now.
Hmm.
Because the very first one I did was maybe 2.5 years. It was early December or something, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try making enamel pins and shipping them myself. So I made 100,
Hmm.
and then they sold out in 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, I need to make more, and so it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And it's my main source of income now, and it's actually really cool because I open my shop just a few times a year. Normally 4 times. This year might only be 3, just because
Hmm.
coronavirus and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's kind of neat, just like one big push. I prep for everything, and then the shop's open for 1 week only.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, and then I fulfill everything within 2 weeks.
So it's almost like doing a Kickstarter,
Yeah,
except
that's exactly how I was describing it. I was like, this is like Kickstarter levels of work because I got a lot of orders this time, so I'm like, okay,
uh
this is almost too much.
so you do all the shipping and handling yourself. And
Hmm. Yeah.
do you ever like cry a single tear when you realize how much money you've spent on shipping over the years?
I mean, yes, but at the same time, the customers are paying it because I don't do free shipping. So
That's true. That's true.
but every time I go to reload my account, like I reload, you can reload up to $1,000 at a time in my shipping account. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm doing that like every day when I'm fulfilling orders, like there's another $1,000. My
Yeah.
credit card's like, hey. And I'm like, don't worry, like you got that money from the orders.
Don't worry. I know I often think like at the end of the year when I'm doing my accounting for taxes and I'm adding up the shipping, I'm like, how is it that they don't roll out a red carpet for me when I walk into the post office and like, hand me a like a warm towel and give me a comfy chair and ask me, you know, what they can do to help me.
I
What
always
do you
feel
have,
like I'm being a burden.
right? What do you have to do to be in the exclusive like
Yeah.
postal club or something?
Scared to add a shadow to this. I'm gonna screw it up.
This is the worst part of the drawing too. It's like when when everything is working and you go in to do something like a shadow or one last little bit, some sort of highlight, and you end up messing it up.
Trying to have the light source like a little bit from behind so the shadow's in front. Because at least that's what I was thinking of when I shaded him. So now I need some shadows in the water.
Let me ask you this. Are you taking, like, are you doing any like professional development? Like, do you take online courses or are you just kind of like, I got my style, I know what I do, I know what I'm good at, I'm just gonna move forward in that? Or is there other things you're trying to learn and get better at?
I kind of go through phases because I like to watch tutorial videos online. Not I don't always follow along with them, but at least just for the inspiration aspect, I like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I go through phases. Like I did starting this video series a while back where it's like a self-improvement series. So I was studying specific things like, okay, for now I'm going to focus on sketching this, then I'm going to focus on that just to sort of improve myself. But I got sick of it very fast and didn't want to keep doing it. So yeah, right now I'm not doing anything really. I'm just trying to, I'm like in the unwind phase after the store.
Oh
Although
yeah.
I need to get cracking on the next thing really fast, but
Can you talk about the next thing, or is that?
yeah, I can. I want to try doing an advent calendar.
Oh,
And
cool.
so it's going to be kind of tricky because, well, I need to get everything ordered fairly quickly. I want to have everything designed within the next month. I'm just doing a 12-piece one though, because otherwise it's a crazy amount of work. Plus, it'll just be really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just featuring things you'd usually find in my shop, like the enamel pins, and I want to
That's a
try
great
wooden
idea.
pins and acrylic charms, things like that. And so I don't know, it'll be tricky also just because I vlog everything I do, but I want, it's an advent calendar, so things are supposed to be a surprise. So
Uh-huh.
I only want people to know maybe a couple things in advance, like at most what 2 items are. So
Yeah,
then I'm like, well, how am I going to show myself working on stuff if I can't show the stuff? So
that is tricky.
yeah, so I'll just kind of, I think it'll work out. And we'll just kind of see. This is like the test run, and then I can decide if I ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking instead I could just do like a yearly box of stuff, but it's not a surprise what you're getting, like not advent calendar style either, just like
Mm-hmm.
the yearly Baylee box, or I don't know what I would call it, but just like a bunch of merch in a box.
I like the idea though of you opening the shop during certain times of the year. I might try that.
It's interesting, yeah.
I just have it open all the time, and it's fine because when someone wants to order something, every Friday I ship orders. So, or my son does. I train my son how to do it. And but you know Lorenzo or the Etherington brothers who do the How to Think When You Draw. Have you seen their thing?
I don't think so.
Oh man, these two brothers one writes, one draws. They do comics together, but he's been doing this series of How to Think When You Draw books, and they're just chock full, like I don't know, 200 or 300 pages of drawing tips, like single page drawing tips, right? So like, here's how you draw teeth, here's how you draw eyes, here's how you draw crumbling rocks or something. But he's like, you can only get these books during my Kickstarters, and he does one Kickstarter a year, it seems like. And every Kickstarter, he just goes back to the printer and reprints the earlier copies for everyone who wants it during the year but doesn't get it. And the whole year, he's adding people to this email list. They want to buy it now, and he's like, "No, gotta wait till the Kickstarter." And then he launches this Kickstarter that just rockets to the moon. It like this last one. They live in he's based out of the UK, so I don't know the dollar amount, but it was like £900,000
What?
that he made on this Kickstarter. Yeah.
Jesus.
Something like 9,000 backers or something like that.
Wow.
6,000 backers. I don't know. And I'm like, there's something to be said about having limited availability.
Oh yeah.
Like what you're doing. Like,
because like that's not my intended business plan to make things scarce. I mean, originally it wasn't, but it just sort of worked out. Because for me, I don't want to be running my shop all the time, or like, going down to my warehouse every day to package maybe like 2 orders, because it's just less efficient. And the place where I mail my packages is not very close by, because I don't use a regular post office because I'm so close to the US border. I just use a cross-border shipping service. So cool. I don't want to be driving there every day. Right. So I don't know. I just like the idea of there's a big push, and then I'm just back to my usual art stuff, and then back to the store, kind of flip-flop. Because it's convenient for me that way, but it also worked out because it's a now or never thing. Like, okay, my shop's open for a week. A lot of the stuff sells out. If it's new, it might sell out in the first hour, certain things. And so people kind of know to be there on time.
Right. You've trained.
Yeah. Instead of them being like, well, maybe I'll get it later, or maybe I'll ask for something for my birthday or something. It's now or never.
Yeah. Well, and you've been consistent too. It's like, that I think that's part of building a good relationship with a fan base. And again, I don't like that word fan base, because I don't see these people. I see the people who follow me and who buy my stuff as like friends I don't know very well. Yeah. Like, I wish I could get to know each one of them better, because if there's something in my work that they find appealing, then we have common ground somehow, right? And you just building that trust with them, like, this is how I can work, this is how I can do a shop, and I'm going to deliver on time, I'm going to make these products as best as I can make them with the materials and the resources I have at my disposal. And that's how you build that consistency in those people who appreciate it. It's really cool. I'm learning a lot from this. I'm also just having fun watching you, like how you decide which colors to use and how you're laying things down.
I know it's kind of bugs me because I went a little fast on this, but I'm a really slow drawer. I take
Hmm.
forever to do things, so
Hmm.
I'm just like how could I have done this water so quickly and with such little thought? Because like it's not even a nice water texture.
No, it's fine. It works. It works.
Yeah, I think
Fine.
yeah, it works for the art style especially. So
As the plumpest, what'd you call it?
thick
Thickest
giraffe.
little giraffe.
That's not how I imagined a thick giraffe pin being because I would picture it being a little more squishy and chibi, but I liked the idea of the really round body with the stick legs.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and this now you've got a first pass
Mm-hmm.
on this design.
Yeah.
You know where you want to tread and where you don't. What sketchbook are you working in?
Oh, this is, I don't even know what it's called. It's from Amazon and it's really not very good. I got it because it's a square sketchbook,
Yeah.
but the paper has this, it's feels very fibrous or like and like flaky almost. It's some kind of
Mhm.
recycled paper and it's just way too absorbent and you got
Oh,
to be careful coloring things in because the marker will just leak right out of the line, that sort of thing.
yeah. Are
But
you going to fill it up or are you gonna abandon it?
well, I probably abandoned it because I abandoned all my sketchbooks eventually, but I'm still using it because it's a little more low stress, I guess, if it's
All right.
just cheaper paper. Because I get
Yeah.
this, I have this one with nice paper, and I have it in my mind. Everything has to be like full color and nice in it, and it. I guess I feel less pressure in this one, but I'll
Mhm.
probably never buy it again, and I don't know if I'll ever make it through because even the pages are falling apart where they flip. It's just so
Oh man.
like I've only done a few pages in here and it's already falling apart. So there's really not much. This is old, but
Wait, I want to see that. Go back to that page with the characters on it.
this was like a camping girl thing. That was just like a sort of a sketch with me video.
Yeah.
Just quickly doodled her doing a bunch of stuff.
She's cute. I like it. Was that like a prompt there, like draw a camping girl, or is that just something?
No, I don't remember what made me want to draw camping. I can't remember, but I don't know. I just wanted to draw, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't always know in advance. I just try to think of stuff on the spot. These are all just sketches from other full color drawings I did, and then this I just did day before yesterday. Yeah,
That's cool. My daughter would love that.
this is based off of. Here, let me grab it. It's this. I just had it in my room, so I just did like a
Oh,
still
it's
life
an actual
picture
thing.
of that. Just because
That's so
after the
great.
store stuff, I'm like, I need to draw something, but I'm not really feeling imaginative right now. So
Yeah, just do a life drawing, or
I
not a
think
life drawing. It's still life.
I think my cat scratched it when she was up here when I was trying to pull her off. There's like a
So it's mixed media now.
yeah, a real cat scratched on the cat planter.
Cool.
Yeah,
So are you calling that done?
yeah,
I like
an
it.
angry fishing giraffe.
Angry fishing draft. Let me put mine up here
Yeah, I
close.
got to get one last look.
See the details.
Oh yeah, I see the necklaces now.
Yeah.
I love them. I love the shading with the inking too, like the black lines.
Yeah, that's something I picked up over the years where it's like I think I did one drawing like that once because I saw another artist doing it, and then I was like, well, I guess this is how I'm gonna I'm gonna ink things now.
It's like it's hatching, but like a little more organic looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I like using the brush pen. Is you do get these just this varied line, like
Mm-hmm.
line. Every line has like a personality to it.
Yeah.
So and a little bit of rum there on his.
Love it.
Yeah, cool. Well, this was fun. Should we
Uh-huh.
should we call it good?
Yeah, I think so. I probably have to upload like this whole thing. I was thinking, I'll trim it down, but we were just talking the whole time.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good conversation
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I learned a lot just picking your brain there a little bit.
Yeah,
Hope I didn't
awesome.
I hope I didn't talk too much either.
No, it's good. I felt like I'm not asking enough questions.
It's fine. No, it was good. It was good. I appreciate you doing this too. Like
Hmm.
I I I didn't know if I was overstepping by saying, "Hey, let's do something like this." But I've seen your videos. I've followed you for a while now, and I thought, "Oh, she'd be cool to just talk to for an afternoon and
Yeah.
why not have it be something that we can upload, you know?"
Yeah, and I've never done, I've said this to you already, but I guess for the camera, I've never done a collab like this where we're drawing real time together. So it's kind of like, oh, this works out. So I could do more in the future too.
It felt like art class, didn't it? A
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
teacher gives you an assignment, you have to finish in an hour or however long we've been doing this, almost 2 hours here.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
can't believe it.
Okay,
Cool. This
cool.
is fun.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was fun. I'm glad I did that. So thanks for reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll see you around.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Okay, so that is that. That was a look at our little Zoom call. I really, really enjoyed that. I was a little nervous because I didn't know if things would work technologically or if I would just not be able to know what to do with a prompt, but it worked out. That was really fun. So glad I did that. And I hope it was interesting for you guys just hearing our responses to the stuff we were talking about. I think it was pretty interesting. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This leaks so bad, like the color runs so bad, so I gotta be careful. I already went way outside the lines. I want just a touch of this R32 just to make this a little more pink and a little less peachy. It is mostly peachy overall, but just add a little bit of something. The plus side of having paper